I never thought I'd poison the well at our family's New Year's feast. But when my brother Ethan leaned back in his chair, that smug grin splitting his face like a crack in cheap porcelain, and announced to the entire table that I'd spent my 20s chasing ghosts in therapy instead of a real career, I felt the old scar tissue rip open. The room, our sprawling Manhattan brownstone, decked out in silver garlands and twinkling lights, erupted in that awkward Shuckle family's reserve for public executions. And, in that split second, with the ball dropping on the TV screen behind him, I decided it was time to drag his skeletons into the light, even if it meant burying us all. What came next wasn't just words, it was the detonation of a secret I'd carried like a lead weight for 15 years. One that would make the foie gras turn to ash in their mouths. It started, like most family implosions do, with the little things. The teasing. God. The teasing. Ethan had always been the golden boy, tall, broad-shouldered, with that effortless charm that made professors overlook his half-assed essays and bosses promote him despite his penchant for creative accounting. I was the quiet one. Adeline, the girl who buried her nose in books while he partied through Yale. But beneath the surface, our sibling rivalry was a festering wound, infected by something far uglier than jealousy. That New Year's Eve, the air was thick with the scent of roasted chestnuts and overpriced Bordeaux. Aunt Lydia, with her pearls clutched like rosary beads, prattled on about her latest Botox disaster. Uncle Frank, red-faced from the eggnog, slapped Ethan on the back for landing that VP gig at Goldman Sachs. Mom, our stepmom, really? The porcelain doll type who'd married Dad after Mom number 1 bailed, was fluttering around, ensuring the caterers kept the caviar flowing. And there was Dad, at the head of the table, his silver hair catching the candlelight, looking every bit the retired hedge fund titan he was. He raised his glass for the toast, to new beginnings, and to family. May we always forgive and forget. Ethan caught my eye then, his own twinkling with that predatory gleam. I'd flown in from Chicago, where I'd clawed my way into a mid-level editing job at a literary mag, scraping by in a shoebox apartment. No husband, no kids, just a cat named Hemingway and a therapist's bill that could fund a small coup. To Adeline, he said, lifting his flute with mock solemnity, for finally showing up without her imaginary friends. Hey, sis, you gonna tell us about that breakdown in '09? The one where you thought the Post-it notes were plotting against you. Laughter rippled around the table like a bad ripple in a pond. Aunt Lydia tittered behind her napkin. Uncle Frank guffawed, spilling wine on the damask cloth. Even Mom's lips twitched, though her eyes darted to Dad for approval. I sat there, fork midway to my mouth, the bite of prime rib turning to rubber on my tongue. 15 years. 15 goddamn years I'd protected him, lied for him, let the world think I was the fragile one, the screw-up who'd cracked under pressure. And for what? So he could eviscerate me in front of the people who'd already written me off as the family disappointment. My pulse thrummed in my ears, drowning out the cheers from Times Square on the screen. The countdown hit 10. 9. I set my glass down, the clink echoing like a gavel. You want to talk about breakdowns, Ethan? My voice was steady, but inside, I was a Category 5 hurricane. Let's start with the one you had on graduation night. Yale. Oh, 8. Remember? The night you wrapped Dad's Porsche around a tree on I-95, drunk off your ass on Jack Daniels and whatever pills you scored from that frat boy dealer. The room didn't just quiet, it vacuum-sealed. Forks hovered. Glasses trembled. Ethan's grin faltered, then hardened into something feral. Adeline. What the hell? But I wasn't done.
8. 7.
You weren't alone in that car.
Were you?
There was a girl. Sophie Hargrove. The one from the lit department. The one everyone said was too good for you. She didn't make it out. Seatbelts snapped like a twig. They said later.
But you?
You crawled from the wreckage, smelling like a distillery fire, and called me first. Not 911. Not Dad.
Me.
Dad's face drained of color, his knuckles whitening around his stemware. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, but no sound came out. Uncle Frank muttered, "Jesus Christ," under his breath. Aunt Lydia's pearls were now fully strangled.
4. 3.
I leaned forward, locking eyes with Ethan, who looked like he'd swallowed a live wire. I covered for you, Ethan. I said I was driving, that I'd borrowed the car, had a few drinks, lost control. Cop spotted Daddy's little angel, the responsible one, making a youthful mistake. I took the DUI, the community service, the black mark on my record that tanked my grad school apps. Sophie's family sued, but Dad's lawyers buried it. And you graduated with honors, sailed into Wall Street, while I pieced together a life from the scraps.
2. 1.
The TV erupted in cheers, confetti raining down on virtual strangers in the streets below. But in our dining room, the silence was a tomb. Ethan's mouth opened, closed, like a fish gasping on dry land.
You.
You can't. I can, I whispered, my voice slicing through the hush. And I am. Because that wasn't the end.
Was it?
Sophie wasn't just some random hookup. She was pregnant. With your kid. And when the autopsy came back, Dad paid off the coroner to fudge the report. Accidental overdose from the pills in her system. Not the crash. But I knew. I saw the bruises on her arms. The ones you left when you fought about it. You begged her to get rid of it. Didn't you? Called it a distraction from your big future. The words hung there, heavier than the snow piling up outside. Dad shoved back from the table, chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard. Adeline. Enough. This is. Happy New Year. Family. I cut in, raising my glass one last time. It wasn't champagne. It had gone flat in my grip. To truths we can't bury anymore. That was the hook. The detonator. But the real fallout? That came later. In the unraveling that followed. Because Ethan wasn't just a bully with a silver spoon. He was a chameleon. A man who'd flipped the script faster than a Wall Street trader dodging a subpoena. And me? I wasn't the victim saint I'd painted myself as. Not entirely. The weeks after that dinner blurred into a fever dream of accusations and alibitions. Dad cut me off cold turkey. No calls. No emails. Just a terse note from his lawyer revoking my discretionary allowance. Read, the pity money he'd doled out since the crash. Mom sent passive-aggressive texts about healing as a family, laced with Bible verses she probably Googled. Aunt Lydia cornered me at a coffee shop on the Upper West Side, her face a mask of faux concern. Darling, Ethan's always been the strong one. You must have. Embellished. For attention? Embellished. As if I'd scripted a Greek tragedy for likes. But the truth was messier. Thornier. Sophie Hargrove hadn't been some innocent lamb. She'd been fire, fierce, unapologetic. The kind of woman who chain-smoked Marlboros while debating Foucault in dive bars. I'd known her from a seminar on postmodern lit. We weren't friends. Exactly. But we'd shared late-night rants over cheap wine about the boys who thought they owned the world. Ethan was one of them. Heir to a fortune. Heir to entitlement. I'd pieced it together months before the crash. Sophie confided in me one rainy afternoon in the library stacks. Ethan had knocked her up, promised the moon, then ghosted when the test turned positive. He's scared. Addie, she'd said, twisting her silver ring. Says it'll ruin him. But I can't. I won't. That night, she confronted him at a frat rager. I was there, nursing a solo cup in the corner, watching the storm brew. He grabbed her arm, hard, hissed something about fixing it quietly. She slapped him. He stormed off. Hours later, my phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Pick me up? Need to talk. She never made it to my dorm. Instead, she climbed into his Porsche, thinking a drive would sober him up. Pills from his dealer, Xanax. Maybe Oxy, washed down with whiskey. The skid marks on the highway told the rest. He dozed at the wheel, veered into the guardrail at 80 miles per hour. Impact.
Fire.
Her body twisted in the passenger seat. Seatbelt unbuckled because she'd reached over to shake him awake. When he called me from the ear, voice slurred through painkillers, it was pure panic. Addie, please. Dad'll kill me. The firm. Everything. I drove to the hospital in a daze. Saw the wreckage photos the cops had already snapped, his airbag deployed perfectly. Hers a shredded joke. And in that moment, staring at my brother's bloodied face, I chose him. Because family,
Right?
blood thicker than the gasoline pooling on the asphalt. I lied to the detectives, forged the timeline, even slipped a flask into my purse to plant at the scene. Dad handled the rest. Settlements, NDAs, a generous donation to the Hargrove family's struggling nonprofit.
Why? Love.
I told myself. Loyalty. But deeper down, it was fear. Of losing the only brother I had. The one who'd shared comic books under the covers during Mom's chemo rounds. Who'd promised we'd conquer the world together. Cancer took her when I was 12. Dad buried himself in work. And Ethan became my anchor. Until he wasn't.
Now.
In the aftermath of my bombshell, that anchor dragged me under. Ethan didn't crumble. He counterattacked. First came the gaslighting, texts at odd hours. You okay? Sis, that wine hit you hard. We should talk. Clear the air. Then the charm offensive. Flowers delivered to my hotel. I'd crashed at the plaza. Too broke for a flight home. A handwritten note about our shared trauma. By mid-January, he was on my doorstep in Chicago. Unannounced. Bearing takeout from Giordano's and a bottle of the scotch Dad liked. We sat on my threadbare couch. Hemingway eyeing him warily from the windowsill. I get it, he said, pouring generously. The resentment. I was a prick at dinner. But, Addie, that crash. It haunts me too. Every day. His eyes welled up, crocodile tears. But damn if they didn't look real. Sophie's family? They've moved on. Got a settlement. Started that scholarship in her name. What good does dredging it up do now? I sipped. The burn steadying me. It does good for me. Ethan. For once, he leaned in, voice dropping to that conspiratorial whisper we'd used as kids plotting against Dad's no sweets rule. Look, I owe you.
Big time.
Let me make it right. Dad's furious. But I can talk him down. get you back in the will. Maybe even a job at the firm, editorial consulting or something. We close ranks, like always. It was tempting. The prodigal's return, with perks. But as he talked, I saw the flip, the subtle shift from remorse to manipulation. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smirked. Later, I'd learn it was his lawyer, prepping a defamation suit. Slander in a family setting, he'd call it. Emotional distress. The bastard was already lawyering up, while playing the penitent son. I let him stay the night, on the air mattress in the living room. Around 3 a.m., insomnia gnawing, I slipped into his jacket pocket for a smoke. Old habit, and found it. The thumb drive. Black. Innocuous. Tucked beside his wallet. Plugged it into my laptop on a whim. Heart pounding. Files upon files. Emails. Bank transfers. Scan docs. Ethan's side hustle. It turned out. Not just creative accounting, full-on embezzlement. Skimming from Dad's old clients. Funneling into offshore accounts.
Milio.
And woven through it all, references to the incident, code for the crash as leverage. Blackmail material on a crooked cop who'd taken a bribe to lose the talk screen. On the corner, Dad paid off. Ethan hadn't just survived, he'd weaponized our secret, holding it over Dad like a guillotine. That was the real betrayal. Not the teasing, not even the crash. It was him turning our family's shame into his personal vault key. I copied the drive, deleted the originals, and by dawn, he was gone back to New York, none the wiser. February brought the storm. Dad summoned us both to the brownstone. Neutral ground. The lawyer was there. A shark in pinstripes named Hargrove, irony of ironies. No relation to Sophie, but the name twisted like a knife. This ends now, Dad barked, slamming a folder on the desk. Photos from the dinner. Blurred cell snaps circulating on family group chats. Adeline.
Your
Outburst has jeopardized everything. Ethan's up for partner. We can't have this. This scandal. Ethan sat ramrod straight. The picture of contrition. She's hurting.
Dad.
We'll get her help.
Help.
Like I was the junkie in the family. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Ask him about the accounts.
Dad.
The ones in Cayman. Or better yet, ask him why Sophie's scholarship fund is $200,000 light this year. The room tilted. Dad's eyes bulged. The lawyer cleared his throat. Ethan lunged across the desk, grabbing my wrist. You bitch, how did you get off her? Dad roared. But it was too late. The mask shattered. Ethan whirled on him. You think you're clean? Who paid for the cover-up? Your blood money built my career. It spilled out then, the flips. The accusations flying like shrapnel. Ethan claimed I'd planted the drive. A delusional revenge plot. I countered with timestamps, IP logs from my laptop.
Dad.
Caught in the crossfire. Admitted fragments, the bribes, the lies, all to protect his legacy. You are both children, he pleaded. Mistakes happen, but mistakes don't embezzle. Or kill. The lawyer excused himself, muttering about conflicts of interest. By evening, the cops were involved, not for Sophie. Statutes long run, but for the fraud. Ethan was cuffed in the foyer, screaming obscenities as they Mirandized him. This is your fault. Addie, you destroyed us.
Did I?
As I watched the squad car peel away, snow slushing under tires, I felt hollow. Victory tasted like bile. The trial was a circus. Tabloids feasting on the Wall Street prodigy's fall. Spring bloomed in Central Park while Ethan rotted in Rikers, awaiting plea deals. Dad had a stroke, mild, they said, but it aged him a decade. Mom filed for separation, whispering to reporters about toxic masculinity. Aunt Lydia started a prayer chain. And me? I testified. Laid it all bare, the crash, the cover-up, the greed that festered. But the twist, the one that split the jury, the pundits, even the family came on the stand. Under cross, Ethan's attorney produced emails. From me to Sophie, weeks before the crash. He's not worth it, I'd written. Leave him before he drags you down. And attached, screenshots of his browser history. Searches for discreet abortion clinics NYC and how to spike a drink without detection. I'd hacked his laptop. Jealousy. Spite. Call it what you will. Trying to warn her. Yes.
But also to sabotage him.
Had I pushed her toward that fatal ride? Pushed him to drown his rage in pills and booze.
The courtroom gasped.
Ethan, in his orange jumpsuit, met my gaze with something like triumph. See, he mouthed. We're the same. The jury hung, deadlocked. 7-5 for conviction. Mistrial. Ethan walked on a technicality. The fraud charges downgraded to misdemeanors after Dad's connections pulled strings. He vanished to Dubai. Or so the rumors went, living off laundered scraps. Dad recovered enough to rewrite his will, cutting us both out in favor of charities. Mom decamped to Palm Beach with a yoga instructor half her age. As for me, I stayed in Chicago, promoted at the mag for resilience. Hemingway purred on my lap most nights, the city lights blurring through rain-streaked windows. Was it revenge? Justice? Or just another layer of the lie we all told to survive? Last New Year's, alone with takeout lo mein and a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, I toasted the screen. The ball dropped. Cheers echoed. And in the silence of my apartment, I wondered, if I'd let him burn back then, would Sophie be alive? Would I be whole? Or was the real crime not the crash, but the forgiveness we chased like fools? No answers came. Just the tick of the clock, counting down to whatever comes next. Wait, no. That wasn't the end. I wish it had been. That neat little bow on a package of catharsis. But life, especially in the American underbelly of privilege and poison, doesn't wrap up like a Netflix special. It festers. It flips. It demands encores. By summer, the tendrils of that dinner revelation had snaked back into my life, coiling tighter than a noose. Ethan didn't just slink away to some tax haven paradise. He metastasized, reaching out through proxies, whispers in the wind that carried his scent, cologne and deceit. It started with a letter, postmarked from Miami. No return address. Just my name in his looping script, Adeline. Inside, a single photo, us as kids, gap-toothed and grinning on a Cape Cod beach, arms slung around each other. Tucked behind it, a check for $50,000. For old times, the note read, no strings. But if you cash it, remember, family's forever. I stared at it for hours, the paper crisp against my skin. Part of me, the broke editor grinding for adjunct gigs, wanted to deposit it and buy breathing room. The other part, the one scarred by his grip on my wrist that February afternoon, wanted to torch it in the alley behind my building. I shredded it instead, pieces fluttering into the wind like confetti from a funeral. But Ethan was patient. A spider spinning webs I didn't see until I was stuck. Next came the calls, block numbers. Voicemails in disguised voices. Your brother's asking about you, one said. A gravelly timbre that screamed PI. Says you got something of his. Thumb drive? Might be worth talking. Then the emails. Anonymous Gmail. Links to deepfake videos of me. Slurring confessions in a mock interrogation room. Admit it was all a lie, the subject line taunted. Or, this goes viral. Paranoia set in. The kind that makes you triple-check locks and scan crowds for familiar jawlines. Chicago's summer heat wave didn't help. Humid nights where sleep was a joke. And every shadow in my studio apartment looked like him. I upped my therapy sessions, spilling to Dr. Ramirez about the crash guilt I'd buried deeper than Ethan's accounts. You protected him out of love, she said, her voice steady as a metronome. But love isn't blinders. It's seeing the monster and choosing mercy anyway. Mercy. What a crock. By August, the harassment escalated. My boss at the magazine pulled me aside after a staff meeting. Adeline, we've got complaints. Anonymous tips saying you're unstable. Fabricating stories for clicks. The piece I'd pitched, a long form on family dynasties and their dirty secrets, suddenly lacked objectivity. I was sidelined to obituary edits. The kiss of death in publishing. That's when I knew he was coming for my throat. Not with fists, but with the precision of a surgeon who'd studied my weaknesses. I hired a cybersecurity guy, a nerdy kid from Northwestern named Jax, who traced the deepfakes to a VPN in the Caymans, Ethan's playground. He's good, Jax said, cracking his Red Bull. But sloppy. Left breadcrumbs. Want me to counterhack? I hesitated. Legality be damned. This was war. Do it. What Jax uncovered was a Pandora's vault. Ethan's not just dodging fraud raps, he's rebuilding. New alias. Evan Hart, consultant for shady fintech startups. Offshore wires to shell companies. One funneled straight to a Sophie Hargrove Memorial Fund. Irony or insult. Buried in the metadata. Voicemails from Dad. Post-stroke. Raspy please. Son. Come home. We fix this. Adeline's the problem. She always was.
Dad.
Flipping sides again. The old man who'd sworn off both his kids. Turns out, a near-death experience sharpens priorities. He'd bailed Ethan out quietly, rerouted assets through Mom's trust. And me, painted as the vengeful harpy. The one who'd exaggerated for sympathy. Jax pulled court docs too. Ethan's civil suit against me. Filed in New York Supreme. Defamation. Intentional infliction of distress. Damages sought. $2 million. My salary for the next 2 decades. Rage boiled over. Hot and righteous. I booked a red-eye to JFK. Crashing at a Fleabag in Queens to avoid the family radar. First stop, the Hargrove family. Not Sophie's blood relatives. I'd lost touch after the settlement, but the lawyer from the trial. Miriam Hargrove. A no-nonsense bulldog with a corner office in Midtown. MS. Whitaker, she said, eyeing me over bifocals. If this is about settling your brother's mess, I'm out. I've got real clients. It's about justice, I replied, sliding a USB across her desk. Jax's dump. Sanitized for leverage. For Sophie. And for me. Miriam's eyes narrowed, then softened as she scanned the files. Bastard's bold. I'll give him that. Using her name to launder? That's low. Even for Wall Street. She agreed to represent me pro bono, Partial, at least, drawn by the ghost of her namesake case. But, Adeline, this town's a snake pit. Your brother's got friends in high places. You sure you want to dance? I nodded, throat tight. I've been dancing alone for years. The counteroffensive launched in September. Leaves turning in the Hamptons while we toiled in fluorescent hell. Miriam filed a response, not just defense, but cross-claims. Fraud. Conspiracy. Even wrongful death revival. Statutes be damned. We'd argue fraudulent concealment. Leaks hit the post. Hedge fund heir's sister strikes back. Crash cover-up or sibling smear? Pundits on MSNBC debated it over coffee mugs. Was I whistleblower or witch? Heroine or hysteric? Ethan's response was swift. Serpentine. He surfaced via video call, Miriam's office. Supervised to prevent hacks. He looked tanned, tailored, sipping something frothy from a beachside cabana. Addie, he cooed, all brotherly warmth. This has gone too far. Drop the suit. And I wire you double what I sent. We start fresh. Dad's on board, he misses you. Liar, I spat. He called me the problem. A flicker, genuine hurt? Or theater? He's scared.
Sis.
Stroke messed with his head. But family's blood. Remember Cape Cod? We against the world. The photo from the letter burned in my mind.
You mailed that.
With a bribe. Peace offering. He leaned closer to the camera, eyes locking mine. Sophie's gone. Digging her up won't bring her back. But it could bury you. I've got dirt too, your emails to her. The hacks. We both have sins. The call ended with threats veiled as concern. That night, alone in my queen's crash pad, I cracked. Paced the peeling linoleum. Hemingway's successor, a rescue tabby named Gatsby, watching with yellow eyes. Sins. Yeah. I'd meddled. Warned Sophie out of spite as much as care. Hacked Ethan's life because seeing him charm his way through Yale while I grieved Mom's empty chair gnawed at me. Was I the villain in my own revenge tale? October brought the deposition. A sterile conference room in a financial district high-rise. Ethan flew in. Entourage in tow. Slick attorney. Publicist spinning damage control. He testified first, poised. Penitent. My sister's brilliant, but troubled. The dinner? A family spat, exaggerated by wine and old wounds. The crash was tragic. Yes, a shared mistake. But she's rewritten history to cope. Shared mistake. As if I'd held the wheel. When my turn came, Miriam coached calm, but fury leaked through. Mr. Whitaker, she asked, voice like velvet over steel. Why did you transfer $150,000 from the Sophie Hargrove Fund to a personal account last March? Objection. Sustained. But the seed was planted. Reporters swarmed the lobby. Mics thrusting like bayonets. Adeline, was it revenge or redemption? One shouted. I pushed through, head high, but inside, the doubt festered. Redemption? Or just another flip? Me becoming the schemer I despised? Halloween night. Trick-or-treaters pounding doors. My phone buzzed, unknown. I answered, against better judgment. Ethan's voice. Hushed. Addie. Truce? Meet me. Neutral ground. The old spot, Cape Cod. Dad's yacht. Docked in Provincetown. Come alone. Trap? Olive branch? The pull was magnetic. That childhood tether yanking despite the rot. I drove through the night. Wipers slapping rain. Radio droning NPR debates on familial betrayal in elite circles. Dawn broke gray over the harbor. The yacht a white ghost bobbing in the swells. Ethan waited on deck, wind whipping his coat. No entourage. Just him. A thermos of coffee. And eyes that mirrored mine, haunted. Hungry. You came, he said, handing me a mug. Steam curled like secrets. Curiosity killed the cat, I replied.
Sipping. Black. Bitter.
What now? More blackmail? He laughed.
Hollow.
Truth? I'm tired. Addie. The suits. The hiding, it's eating me. Dad's dying, real this time.
Pancreatic. He wants us together.
One last toast. The words landed like punches. Dad dying. Flipping again. From foe to frail. I searched Ethan's face for lies. Found only cracks, lines etched deeper than tan could hide. Why now? Because you're right. I took from you. From her. But we can end it. Sign this. He produced papers, mutual releases, NDAs. A trust fund split 3 ways, Dad. Him. Clean slate. I scanned it. Heart hammering. Buried clause. Arbitration in Dubai. His turf. No real teeth to my claims. Another web. Bullshit, I whispered, crumpling it. You're not done scheming. His face twisted rage. Then regret. Then what? Sis? Ruin us all? For what? Vindication? Sophie's dust. Mom's ghost. Let it go. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm, gentle this time.
Wait.
One more thing. From his pocket, a sonogram. Faded.
Creased.
It was real. I kept it. Thought about it every day. The world tilted. Not just a fling's casualty, a child. Our niece. Nephew. Erased before breath. Tears stung. Unbidden. You monster. We both are. He released me, stepping back.
Go.
But remember, blood's forever. I fled to the car, rain sheeting the windshield, the image burning in my brain. Monster or mirror? The drive back was a blur. Decisions fracturing like ice on a pond. Call Miriam? Burn the bridge? Or flip once more, join him? Salvage the empire? November elections loomed. America fracturing along red-blue lines. But my personal civil war raged hotter. Dad's diagnosis confirmed, stage 4.
Months at best.
Mom called. Voice breaking. He wants you.
Addie.
Both of you. Thanksgiving was a farce. Hospital room over styrofoam turkey. Ethan and I flanking the bed like wary sentries.
Dad.
Tubes snaking. Gripped our hands. Forgive, he rasped. Or lose everything. Ethan nodded. Eyes on me, plea or plot. I squeezed back, words choking. Trying. But trying wasn't enough. That night, in the waiting room, he cornered me. Sign the papers. For Dad. I pulled the sonogram from my purse, stolen in the confusion. This? Your leverage now. His face crumpled.
Keep it.
Burn it.
Just.
End this. The flip, from predator to prey. Or faint. I walked out into the cold. Manhattan's lights a defiant blaze. December crept in. Snow dusting the park benches where Sophie and I once smoked and schemed. I met Jax for coffee. Handed him the papers. Hack deeper. Find the kill shot.
He did.
December 15th. Emails from Ethan to a fixer in Miami. Plans to frame me for identity theft. Using my hacked history against me. The sonogram?
Bait.
To soften me for the sting. Climax brewed like a nor'easter. Christmas Eve. I confronted him at the brownstone. Mom fled. Staff dismissed. He answered the door. Rumpled in a sweater. Tree lights casting halos.
Addie.
Come in. No games, I said, thrusting the printouts. You're done. He scanned them.
Sighed.
Guilty. But you? Those emails to Sophie, they make you complicit. Push this. We both sink. The room spun. Ornaments twinkling like accusations. Dad's ghost in the walls. Sophie's in the wind. I could call the cops. Watch him cuff-linked again. Or walk. Let the cycle spin eternal. Instead, I flip the script. We go public.
Together.
Full confession crash. Fraud.
All.
Donate the empire to her fund. Real redemption. His eyes widened shock. Then calculation. Dad would. Dad's dying. Let him die proud. Silence stretched, broken only by carols on the radio. Then, slow, okay. For Sophie, lie or truth. As we drafted the press release by firelight, hands shaking on the keyboard, I wondered. New Year's loomed again. Another dinner. Another detonation. But this time, the silence might heal. Or shatter irreparably. New Year's Eve dawned brittle. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones and stays there, whispering doubts. Ethan and I had spent the intervening weeks in a fragile armistice, lawyers haggling over the confession's fine print. PR firms spinning it as a family's courageous reckoning.
Dad.
From his hospice bed in the brownstone's master suite, approved with a nod. His eyes glassy but grateful. Make it right, he'd murmured, hand frail in mine. Mom hovered peripherally, video calling from Florida, her yoga glow dimmed by guilt. I'm proud.
Kids.
Finally.
Proud.
The word tasted foreign, like trying on someone else's skin. As I stood in my Chicago walk-in, a temporary upgrade, courtesy of Miriam's interim settlement, zipping into a black sheath that hugged like armor, I questioned the sanity of it all. The plan, a primetime interview on 60 Minutes, airing live from the brownstone at 8 p.m., time to drop with the ball. Ethan and I,
Side by side.
spilling the rot, crash details, bribes, embezzlement, my hacks, his hits. No holds barred. Cameras would capture the unvarnished American dream turned nightmare, privilege's price, forgiveness's razor edge. Why now? Jax had asked over burner phone, his voice tinny with worry. Give him rope, he'll hang himself solo. Because, I'd replied, staring at the sonogram taped to my mirror. Hanging alone's too easy. This way. We both bleed. The flight to LaGuardia was turbulent, mirroring the churn in my gut. Ethan picked me up in a town car, neutral. No Porsche ghosts, his face gaunt under the streetlights. You look good. Sis, he said. No smirk. Ready, as I'll ever be. We rode in silence. City blurring past, holiday storefronts aglow. Taxis honking carols. At the brownstone, crew swarmed, gaffers rigging lights, producers barking cues. Dad watched from upstairs via monitor. Mom patched in from afar. Aunt Lydia and Uncle Frank declined invites to Raw per their joint email. The family table from last year stood bare, a skeletal reminder. Rehearsal dragged. Leslie Stahl, sharp as ever, probing softballs first. Adeline, what prompted the dinner outburst? I recounted the tease, the hook, the room's hush like a held breath. Ethan followed, voice steady. I deserved it. Pushed her too far. After all she'd sacrificed. Chemistry checked out, penitent prodigal and resolute sister. A redemption arc scripted by Scorsese. But off-camera, fissures showed. As makeup artists powdered us down, Ethan leaned in. If you twist this, make me the soul monster, I'll bury you in edits. Threat or paranoia? His eyes darted to the sonogram prop on the mantel. Real.
Now.
For authenticity.
Same page. I lied.
Pulse racing. Dinner break. Catered sushi. Untouched. We ate in the kitchen. Away from mics. Remember the beach? He asked suddenly. Chopsticks hovering. You dared me to skinny dip. I did it. Froze my balls off. Laughed till dawn. A memory. Untainted. I smiled. Faint. You called me chicken for backing out. Still are. Flip, joking jab. Testing waters. I let it slide. Clock ticked. 7 p.m. Final notes from Leslie. Raw emotion cells. But no ambushes. We nodded. Wired for sound. Positioned on the leather sectional facing her armchair. Lights up. Red light on.
Roll.
It flowed at first, poised.
Poignant.
Sophie's photo on the coffee table. Her smile a silent co-host. I spoke of the call from the ER. The lies I wove like a shroud. Ethan confessed the wheel. The pills. The plea. Adeline saved me. I repaid her with silence. Then theft. Gasps from the crew. Off-screen sniffles. Leslie leaned in. The betrayal. How deep did it cut? Deep enough to scar. My voice cracked recounting the thumb drive. The Cayman schemes. He turned our shame into profit. Sophie's memory. Commodified. Ethan hung his head. Tears glistening real? Rehearsed? I was lost. Greed's a hell of a drug. Then the pivot. The controversy Leslie teed up. Adeline. Reports suggest you influenced events. Those emails to Sophie.
The hacks.
Weren't you complicit? The room, our makeshift studio, tightened. The crew froze mid-note. Ethan's hand tensed beside mine on the cushion. I could deny, deflect, spin it as protective meddling. Or lean in, split the audience down the middle. Make them choose, victim or villainous. I said, voice steady.
Jealous.
Angry at the golden boy who'd eclipsed my grief. I warned her to run, dug into his digital dirt to expose him. Pushed them toward confrontation. Did that light the fuse? Maybe. But Ethan chose the drive. The rage. We both fed the fire. Murmurs rippled. Leslie's eyes sharpened. So this revenge, is it justice? Or just another cycle? Ethan jumped in. Unscripted. Both. She's right, we're mirrors. But ending it? That's the win. He turned to me. Live on national feed. Forgive me, Addie. For real. The plea hung.
Raw.
Cameras caught it all. My hesitation. The tear tracking down my cheek. Forgive? After the deepfakes. The suits? But Dad's voice echoed from upstairs feed. Make it right. America watched. Tweeting fury. TikTok threads erupting. Sibling sins. Forgive or fight. Pundits pre-gamed the ball drop with polls. Team Adeline 52%. Team Ethan 48%. No clear heroes. Just humans clawing from the muck. Cut to commercial. Leslie exhaled. Gold. That was electric. Hugs. Backslaps. But as we reset for the family tribute segment, clips of old home videos. Sophie's yearbook photo. Ethan pulled me aside. Into the powder room. Door clicked shut. Nice twist, he hissed. Complicit? You just nuked your sympathy. Truth hurts, I shot back. Like you planned. His laugh was bitter. Plans? I'm improvising. Same as you. But if Dad goes. A crash upstairs, monitor feed glitching. We bolted. Dad's room. Heart monitor flatlining. Nurses swarmed. But it was over. Code blue faded to blue lights. Paramedics. Then silence. Ethan collapsed against the wall.
Sobbing.
I stood frozen. The sonogram slipping from my pocket to the carpet. Leslie's team hovered. Mike's hot. Do we roll? No, I snapped. Family first. The interview aired truncated, tribute segment axed, replaced by a somber sign-off. In light of breaking developments, ratings soared. But the nation mourned with us. Or judged. Funerals followed. Dad's. Closed casket in St.
Patrick's.
Paparazzi flashing like hellfire. Ethan and I eulogized in tandem, me on loss, him on legacy. Mom wailed dramatically. Aunt Lydia distributed tissues. Buried secrets stayed buried.
For now.
But the real climax crested post-burial. In probate hell. Dad's will. Updated days before death. Split the estate. 40% to Sophie's fund. 30% each to us. Strings attached. Joint trusteeship.
Forced partnership.
Ethan cornered me at the wake. Champagne flutes in hand. We do this together. Or it crumbles. Together. I echoed. Clinking glasses. But my free hand pocketed a flash drive. Jax's final gift. Ethan's latest wire. $1 million to a Dubai contact. Insurance. January thawed the ice. But not the tension. We met monthly in neutral Manhattan cafes. Poring over ledgers. Donating chunks to women's shelters. Addiction programs. Sophie's echo. Tabloids cooled. Whitaker Sibs. From feud to philanthropy. Public opinion swayed. Me the mature one. Him the reformed rake. But flips persisted. Ethan's anonymous, tipped to my editor. Reviving hack rumors. My quiet leak to Miriam about his Cayman relapse, booze. Not fraud. But enough to spook trustees. Tension coiled. Dark and electric. By spring. Crack showed. Arguments over fund allocations. Him pushing flashy galas. Me advocating quiet grants. You're still punishing, he accused one rainy afternoon in his sleek Tribeca loft. You're still stealing, I countered. Spotting a new Rolex on his wrist. Trust funds don't buy Audemars. The breaking point. May. A fundraiser at the Met. Black tie. A-listers toasting our inspirational story. I arrived solo. Ethan with a date, blonde. Brittle. Sophie light. Midway through speeches, he took the mic. To Adeline, my savior. My shadow. Without her, none of this. Applause thundered. I smiled through gritted teeth. But backstage, fury ignited. Savior? Tries scapegoat. His date excused herself. We circled like boxers. You leak that wire. It's war. Already did. I bluffed. Lie, he'd find out later. But it landed. His face paled. Fist clenching. Why can't you let go? Because you never did. I shoved the sonogram at him. Copy. Original safe. This isn't redemption. It's PR. He crumpled it, eyes wild. You think you're better? Your hacks killed her as much as my drive. The words detonated, old wound. Fresh salt. I slapped him, palm stinging. Galagoers gasped from the wings. Security hovered. His date fled. Out, he snarled. We're done.
But done?
In our blood-soaked ledger. Never. I stormed into the night. Gala lights mocking. Hailed a cab to the airport. Flew home to Chicago. Gatsby greeting with indifferent meows. Days blurred. Trusty emails demanding mediation. Miriam advising caution. He's cornered animals bite hardest. June brought the bite. Trusty meeting in Dad's old boardroom. Glass walls overlooking the Hudson. Ethan arrived late.
Disheveled.
Smelling of scotch. Resign, he demanded. Slamming docs. My unauthorized leak traced. Fund audits flagging irregularities in my allocations. Petty.
But damning.
Your setup, I accused. Our end. He leaned in, breath hot. Sign over your share. Or I go nuclear, full Sophie files to the press. Your hacks. The warnings. Manslaughter adjacent. The room spun, trustees shifting. Uncomfortable. Flip from partners to pirates. I could fold, take the crumbs, rebuild solo. Or torch it all. Go ahead, I said. Voice ice. But take this. I slid Jax's drive across. His Dubai transfers. Time-stamped post-confession. We're even now. He scanned, face ashen. Trustees gasped. Ethan, one ventured. He stood, chair toppling. Fuck this. Bolted, leaving silence in his wake. Mediation failed. Courts loomed. July heat wave. America sweltering under political bonfires, impeachment whispers. Culture wars raging. Our saga faded to footnotes. But the tension? Electric. A storm front building. August, summons. Ethan sued for breach. I countersued for fraud. Depots under fluorescent buzz. Lies layering like lacquer. His attorney grilled. You admit influencing MS. Hargrove's decisions? Yes. Endangering her? No. Nuance lost in legalese. Then his flip. Mid-swearing. Objection relevance. But too late. The seed of doubt sown. Pundits revived. Was Adeline the architect? September equinox. Decision day. Judges' chambers. Humid with AC hum. Settle, she urged. Or bankrupt the fund. We did, grudging. Gunslinging. 50/50th split. Fund intact. NDAs sealing lips. Handshake in the hallway. His grip iron. Eyes promising sequels. Fuck you, he whispered. Family, I replied. Back in Chicago. Fall leaves carpeting sidewalks. I donated my half to Sophie's scholarship. Full ride for girls like her. Fierce and unbroken.
Ethan?
Vanished again. Whispers of Singapore startups. Dad's ghost lingered in dreams, right?
No.
But closer. October's chill crept in like an uninvited guest, frosting the windows of my Chicago high-rise. Upgrade permanent now. Courtesy of the settlement's windfall. Life post-truce was a fragile equilibrium. Mornings at the magazine, helming features on unconventional kinships, evenings with Gatsby, wine, and Walden rereads for solace. The sonogram, framed on my desk, not as trophy but talisman, a reminder that some debts defy dollars. Publicly, Adeline Whittaker was the survivor. TED Talk invites. Podcast circuits dissecting the cost of complicity. Privately, nightmares of skid marks. Ethan's grip. Sophie's unblinking eyes. The twist, the one that reignited the debate. Split loyalties like a partisan hack, hit on All Hallows' Eve. A package arrived. No sender. Brown paper. My name in block letters. Inside, a burner phone. Screen cracked but alive. One message. Time-stamped midnight. Watch. Link attached, grainy video. Uploaded to a dark web proxy. It opened on the brownstone's foyer. Last New Year's, my outburst. But alternate angle, hidden cam. Ethan's POV. Not just the reveal. Prelude footage.
Me.
Arriving early. Slipping something into his champagne flute. Powder from a vial. White as snow. His hand shaking as he drank. Face flushing before the toast. Cut to him in the bathroom. Retching. Then composing himself for the table. My voiceover. Whisper to camera. Payback's a bitch. Brother. Heart seized. I drugged him. Laxative. Worse. Memory blinked. Wine-fueled haze. But the vial. Yes. From Jax's kit. Harmless truth serum, he joked. Actually, a mild sedative to loosen tongues. Harmless? On live feed. It painted me poisoner, literally. Panic clawed.
Who sent this?
Ethan. From exile. Final flip? Or dad's ghost. Pre-death insurance. Program to drop? I called Miriam. Voice fracturing. Deep fake? Analyze it, she barked. Jax confirmed next day. Authentic. Timestamp ironclad. You don't remember?
Blur.
Rage. Truth. I'd spiked it post-tease. Predetonation. Not to harm, loosen his smug filter. Make the lies stick harder. But optics? Femme fatale. Dosing kin for drama. The video leaked how? Hackers. Grudge holders, spreading like flu on X. Reddit ablaze. Adeline truth serum. Family poison. Clips viral, me pouring. Him paling. Pundits pivoted. Revenge queen or reckless rogue? Polls flipped. Team Ethan surging. My TED cancelled. Magazine board concerned. Ethan surfaced. Press conference in Singapore. Suited. Serene.
Shocked.
Betrayed anew. But Adeline's human, flawed. Like us. I forgive. Cameras flashed. Stocks in his consultancy ticked up. Flip. From villain to victim. Me the schemer who dosed for spectacle. Rage. Then revelation. I went public. My confessional op-ed in the Times. The dose I couldn't swallow. Admitted it all. The spike. The spite. The sister who'd weaponized weakness. Revenge isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. Pulling innocence under. Sophie deserved better. So, do we. Calls flooded. Support hotlines. Death threats. Protests outside my building. Feminists chanting sisters over siblings. Trads decrying liberal lies. Climax crested Thanksgiving. Uninvited. I crashed Ethan's Miami penthouse. Tracked via Jax. Turkey thawed on the counter. He answered in sweats. Date fleeing again. What the? Endgame, I said, thrusting the original vial. Empty. Labeled. You leaked it. For what? Absolution. He sagged against the door jamb. Bourbon breath.
Dad.
Pre-recorded drop. Triggered by his death. Test of character, he called it. Wanted us broken even. Dad, the ultimate antagonist. Mumu flipping from protector to puppeteer. Cancer's cruelty. Or control freaks coda. We laughed. Hysterical. Collapsing on his balcony, overlooking Biscayne Bay. Waves lapped, stars wheeled. We're cursed, he gasped. Or free. I pulled the sonogram, final copy. Burn it. He took the lighter. Flame dancing. Ash swirled into the night. To Sophie. To us. No cops. No courts, just catharsis. Raw and ragged. We talked till dawn. Regrets. What ifs? Him. I'd trade the millions for that night undone. Me. I'd trade the truth for peace. Dawn broke pink. He poured coffee unspiked. Truce for real. I nodded. Contingent. Fund audit. Full transparency.
Deal.
Handshake. No cameras. He stayed in Miami. Me Chicago. Email threads on grants. Not grudges. America moved on holidays. Headlines shifting to elections. Eclipses. Our story? Podcast fodder. Cautionary TEDx redux. But the ending? Debatable. Deliciously gray. New Year's Eve. Solo in my high-rise. Ball dropping on the plasma. I raised a flute. Champagne.
Clean.
No family feast. No teases. Just me. Gatsby purring. City pulsing below. Twists echo. Weeks later. A letter. Ethan's hand. Addie, turns out. Dad's test had a codicil. Hidden account. $5 million. For the fund. But only if we claim it together. Attached. Boarding pass. Miami return. Claim it or let it rot. Like old secrets, I booked the flight. Bloods forever. Curse or compass. In the end, revenge wasn't the win. It was the mirror. Cracking under our stares. We're all a little right. A little wrong, American as apple pie and arsenic. And in that ambiguity, maybe,
Grace.